Welcome as we continue through the Psalms. Today we're going to be reading Psalm 123. The final verse of this psalm reveals the burden of the writer, the constant persecution of the people of Israel, being treated with contempt and hatred from the proud and the arrogant. This issue is still alive and active today as well. No nation in history has ever suffered as much as Israel has and still does today. God's people today suffer because of our commitment to Jesus. Jesus warned us that this would happen, that this would be the reality. According to missiologists, more Christ followers were martyred in the 20th century than all the previous centuries combined. This psalm speaks about the God who is enthroned in heaven, whose hand is working for his people in spite of the persecution that we see unfolding in the world. When we find ourselves in the midst of persecution, we need to look by faith to God's throne. We need to look by faith to God's hand, and we need to look for God's mercies and grace in every situation and circumstance. We'll go ahead and read verse 1 of Psalm 123 together. I lift my eyes to you, O God, enthroned in heaven. This psalm opens in praise. With our human eyes, we can't see God in his throne, but with the eyes of faith, we see him as we believe his word. To look toward the Lord means that we are trusting him and we are turning our problems over to him in faith. We're rolling everything over to the Lord. Today, the throne of God is a throne of grace and mercies. The life of faith begins by looking to the Lord in faith and surrendering our hearts and lives to him, trusting him for our salvation. The life of faith continues as we keep our eyes laser focused, fixed tightly on Jesus, who is the object of our faith. One day faith will become sight and we will see Jesus return in his glory, and that day is coming sooner today than yesterday. We'll continue in verse 2. We keep looking to the Lord our God for his mercy, just as servants keep their eyes on their master, as a slave servant watches her mistress for the slightest signal. In the ancient Eastern countries, masters often commanded their servants with hand signals, so that the servants always kept their eyes on the master's hand. This is what gave them direction for their work. The master's hand was also the source of their provision. What they needed for their daily sustenance came from their master's hands. Finally, the master's hands also protected them in times of danger. The masters always protected their servants because they would bring provisions to their families, so they were looked after in the families if they're in a good home. It is the same for us today. Our direction, provision, and protection all come from the master's hand, the master's hand. And his hand never fails. His hand is perfect, and his love is holy and perfect. Even the heart of a king is in the hands of the Lord. Because of this, God's feeble remnant in Jerusalem didn't have to fear the nations around them. They could trust in the hand of the Lord, knowing that he was with them, providing and protecting. And we'll continue in verse 3. Have mercy on us, Lord, have mercy, for we have had our fill of contempt. We have had more than our fill of scoffing of the proud and the contempt of the arrogant. We are not only subjects of the king and servants of the master, we are also children of a gracious Father who hears the cries of his children and he comes to their aid. In these verses, the psalmist petitions the Lord for mercy and details the problems that they were facing. Our amazing Father has grace and mercy for each and every situation. God is at work in our midst. The nation of Israel miraculously continued, and one very special day, the promised Messiah was born into our human race in the little town of Bethlehem. The nation of Israel has been brought back to life by the miracle working hand of our Father today as well, and on a very special day, our Messiah is returning. There is grace available at the throne of grace from the God of all grace. It is up to us to lift our eyes in faith, lift our eyes to Him, to trust Him, and trust Him with everything in the wait, every situation, every circumstance, every outcome. We roll it over to the Lord and we trust Him as we follow His lead and go about the Father's business. We need to be busy about the Father's business. He is returning sooner today than yesterday, and He's returning for a bride who is head over heels in love with Him. Thanks, y'all. I hope you're having a glorious day in the Lord.